this is not time not to act, because no matter how fatigued or tired or exhausted we all are, we have to understand that nothing has changed. The Kremlin is still a terrorist state which is hell-bent on invading Ukraine, destroying our country, our people, and moving further west.
Well, we can speak now to Yuriy Sak, who's an advisor to Ukraine's defence ministry. Good afternoon, Yuriy.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the programme. I wanted your reaction to that £2.5 billion of aid. It's the largest annual commitment the government's made to date. Presumably you welcome it, but would you ask for more?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that, while this visit of Mr. Sunak to Ukraine is described as a surprise visit, at the same time, to us, it's not surprising that the United Kingdom, again, is showing leadership in matters which are so important for our war effort, for our defense of our freedom, for our defense of Europe's shared values, because it was the United Kingdom which was the first to actually endorse the provision of tanks to Ukraine. It was the United Kingdom that first agreed to send to Ukraine long-range missiles. And now it is the United Kingdom which is the first to sign the very broad security agreement that will encompass security guarantees for Ukraine prior to the moment when Ukraine joins NATO as its full-fledged member. Now, as for the amount of the package that has been announced, of course, we are very grateful for this package as well, and it will mean a lot for our armed forces, for our government, because as you might know, on a daily basis, this war costs us, just the war effort. This is not including all the pensions and all the expenses that the government has, but just the war effort costs Ukrainian government more than £100 million a day. Now, that's a staggering figure, and you can appreciate that, while we are grateful for this, we are looking forward to the US Congress voting for the aid support package for Ukraine as well. And of course, other European countries will play a role as well.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there, because both the US and the EU are struggling to get agreement on their packages of support. So do you worry that after, well, it's nearly 2 years now, isn't it? 2 long years since this war erupted, that there is war fatigue in Europe and in the US?
Well, let me tell you, there is war fatigue not just in Europe, in the US. There is war fatigue in the Ukrainian trenches, on the Ukrainian streets, and in the Ukrainian hearts and minds. But at the same time, this is not stopping us from understanding that this is not time not to act, because no matter how fatigued or tired or exhausted we all are, we have to understand that nothing has changed. The Kremlin is still a terrorist state which is hell-bent on invading Ukraine, destroying our country, our people, and moving further west. Almost on a daily basis, we hear the Russian propaganda as well as official representatives talk about their plans on further expanding their invasion to the Baltic States, Poland. And I think that both us and our partners understand these threats very, very well. This is why, while we are aware of the discussions that take place in Brussels, in Washington, D.C., about the future of aid, we are at the same time confident that there is a very good understanding of the level of threat that we are all facing. And it is in the national interest of not just Ukraine, but of every civilized nation to stand with Ukraine, to continue supporting us, while we are ourselves doing all we can to become self-sufficient. This is why it is important to stress that in the security agreement that was signed today by Rishi Sunak and Mr. Zelensky, there's a separate chapter which deals with the development of Ukraine's defense industry base. So we are already thinking and spending time, effort, and human resources on developing our own weapons and making sure that we become the arsenal of the free world in the foreseeable future, because the threats will not disappear. We will all have to be prepared, and we get ready for this by, cooperating, partnership, exchange of information, transfer of knowledge, and joint ventures in the defense sector.